I'm about to tell you 3 stories. 3 different people, 3 different night shift jobs, 3 different parts of the country. On the surface, they have nothing in common. But stick around until the end of this video, because there's a reason I'm telling you these stories together. There's something that connects them, something that none of these 3 people understood until it was almost too late. If you enjoy horror stories about the jobs that keep our world running after dark, hit that like button and subscribe to Dark Signal for more. Let me start with Marcus. Marcus Hayes was 23 years old when he took the overnight shift at a Chevron station off Interstate 40 in eastern New Mexico. It wasn't his dream job. Nobody dreams about working the graveyard shift at a gas station in the middle of nowhere, but it paid $12.50 an hour and he needed the money. His mom was sick, medical bills were piling up, and the day shift positions were all filled. The station was one of those old ones, built probably in the 70s, with flickering fluorescent lights and pumps that looked like they belonged in a museum. It sat alone on a stretch of highway where you could drive for 20 miles in either direction and see nothing but desert and darkness. Marcus's manager, a guy named Dale who looked like he'd been managing gas stations since the Carter administration, gave him a quick tour on his first night. "Pretty simple," Dale said, his voice rough from too many cigarettes. "Pump 6 is out of order. Don't try to activate it. Keep the coffee fresh. Clean the bathrooms every 2 hours. And if anyone asks for the key to the storage room, tell them we don't have one." "Why would someone ask for that?" Marcus asked. Dale's expression went flat. "Just tell them we don't have one." That first week was boring but uneventful. A few truckers would stop for coffee and cigarettes. Occasionally a family on a road trip would pull in, looking exhausted and desperate for a bathroom. But mostly, Marcus spent his nights alone, reading on his phone and watching the empty highway. It was on his 8th night that he noticed something strange about Pump 6. He was restocking the cigarette display behind the counter when he glanced out the window and saw a car at Pump 6. Not unusual, except that Pump 6 was clearly marked out of order with yellow caution tape wrapped around it. Marcus grabbed his jacket and headed outside. The car was a white sedan, probably from the 90s, with Texas plates. But when he got closer, he realized there was nobody in the driver's seat. Nobody in the car at all. And the gas pump was in the car's tank, with the display showing that it was actively pumping gas. Pump 6, the one that was supposed to be out of order, $47.32, $47.33, $47.34. The numbers kept climbing. "Hello," Marcus called out, looking around. The desert was silent except for the hum of the fluorescent lights above him. He walked around the car, checking the windows. Empty. He tried the doors. Locked. He knocked on the glass. Nothing. $52.18. $52.19. $52.20. Marcus went back inside and checked the security monitor. The grainy black and white footage showed the car at Pump 6, showed the pump handle in the tank, but didn't show anyone who could have put it there. He called Dale. "The car at Pump 6, Marcus said when Dale answered. "Nobody's in it, but it's pumping gas." There was a long silence on the other end. "Then how much?" Marcus checked the monitor. $58.47 and counting. "Let it finish," Dale said. "What do you mean, let it finish? There's nobody." "Let it finish." Dale's voice was sharp. "Don't go back outside. Don't try to stop it. When it's done, it's done. The car will leave. It always does." "Dale, what the hell are you talking about?" "Just do what I say, Marcus. I'll explain tomorrow." Dale hung up. Marcus stared at the phone, then back at the monitor. The pump was still going. $73.11. $73.12. At $100 exactly, the pump stopped. Marcus watched on the monitor as the handle ejected itself from the tank and returned to its cradle. The gas cap screwed itself back on, and then the car's headlights turned on. Marcus felt his blood go cold. He watched as the car, with nobody inside, put itself in gear and slowly drove away from the pump, heading back toward the highway. He ran to the window, pressing his face against the glass. The white sedan pulled onto I-40 heading east, its taillights disappearing into the darkness. When Dale came in the next morning, Marcus was still shaken. "You could have warned me," Marcus said. Dale poured himself a cup of coffee. "Would you have believed me if I had?" "What the hell was that?" "That," Dale said, sitting down heavily, "is why Pump 6 is out of order. Has been for 17 years. Ever since Jimmy." "Who's Jimmy?" "Jimmy was the overnight guy before you. Before the guy before you. Before about 6 other guys." Dale took a long drink of his coffee. Jimmy was working one night when a car pulled up to Pump 6. White sedan, Texas plates. Driver got out, started pumping gas. Normal stuff. But then Jimmy noticed something weird. The guy pumping gas looked wrong. Like his skin was too pale, his movements too stiff. Jimmy went outside to ask if everything was okay. And the guy just stared at him. Didn't blink. Didn't breathe. Just stared. Dale paused, staring into his coffee. Jimmy freaked out. Ran back inside, locked the door. The guy finished pumping, got back in his car, and drove away. Jimmy thought he'd imagined it. Until the next night, when the same car showed up. Same pump. Same pale guy. Jimmy called the cops this time. But when the cops got there, the car was gone. They thought Jimmy was crazy. So what happened to Jimmy? Third night, Jimmy tried to stop him. Went out to Pump 6. Tried to talk to the guy. Tried to pull him away from the pump. That's when Jimmy saw what he really was. Not a person. Something wearing a person's shape. Something that didn't like being interrupted. Dale looked at Marcus with tired eyes. They found Jimmy 3 days later, 50 miles down the highway. His car had crashed into a ditch. But here's the thing. Jimmy wasn't in the driver's seat. He was in the trunk. And according to the coroner, he'd been dead for at least a week before the crash. Marcus felt sick. That doesn't make sense. He was working 3 nights before. I know what it doesn't make sense, Dale interrupted. None of this makes sense. But that's why we don't activate Pump 6. That's why we let the car come, let it take its gas, and let it leave. Because if you try to stop it, if you try to interfere, it takes you instead. Marcus wanted to quit right then, but he thought about his mom's medical bills, about the fact that he had no other job lined up. So he stayed. For the next 3 weeks, the white sedan came every few nights. Always to Pump 6. Always pumping exactly $100 worth of gas. Always leaving before Marcus could get a good look inside. But on his 32nd night, something different happened. Marcus was cleaning the bathroom around 2 a.m. when he heard the bell above the door chime. He came out to find a woman standing at the counter. She was maybe 40, with dark hair pulled back in a ponytail, wearing jeans and a leather jacket. She looked tired. "Coffee, please," she said. "Black. Large." Marcus poured her a cup. "Long drive." "You have no idea." She paid in cash, then paused at the door. "You're the overnight guy." "Yeah." She looked at him for a long moment. "Be careful with Pump 6." Marcus froze. "What do you know about Pump 6? "I know that whatever comes to that pump isn't looking for gas." She pulled a business card from her pocket and slid it across the counter. "If you ever see it do anything different, anything at all, call this number. Immediately." Before Marcus could respond, she was gone. He picked up the card. It was plain white with just a phone number printed on it. No name, no company, nothing else. He pocketed the card and tried to forget about it. But 2 nights later, at exactly 2:47 a.m., the white sedan pulled up to Pump 6 again. Marcus watched on the monitor, ready to let it do its thing and leave. But this time, something was different. The driver's door opened. Marcus's breath caught. In all the weeks of watching the car, he'd never seen the door open, never seen anyone get out. But now, a figure emerged from the sedan. Tall, wearing what looked like a gray suit. The figure stood beside the car for a moment, then turned to face the station, turned to face the window where Marcus was watching. Even on the grainy security footage, Marcus could see that the figure had no face, just smooth, pale skin where features should have been. The figure started walking toward the station. Marcus grabbed his phone with shaking hands and pulled up the business card. He dialed the number. It rang once. Then a voice, the woman from 2 nights ago, answered immediately. "Where are you?" "The Chevron on I-40, mile marker 287. "I know where you are. Is it inside yet?" "No, it's walking toward." "Listen very carefully. Go to the storage room. Right now. Don't ask questions. There's a red lever on the back wall. Pull it." "But Dale said we don't have." "I know what Dale said. The storage room behind the employee bathroom. Go. Now." Marcus ran. He fumbled with the keys, his hands shaking so badly he almost dropped them. The storage room was small, filled with old supplies and boxes. And on the back wall, just like she said, was a red lever. He pulled it. The lights in the entire station went out. Everything went silent. The hum of the refrigerators, the buzz of the fluorescent lights, even the sound of the highway outside seemed to fade away. Marcus stood in complete darkness, his phone the only source of light. "I pulled it," he whispered into the phone. "Good. Now stay where you are. Don't move. Don't make a sound. It can't find you if the station is off." "What is it?" "Something that's been using that gas station as a way station for a very long time. Something that feeds on the people who work there." Marcus thought about Jimmy, about the 6 other overnight guys Dale had mentioned. "How long do I wait?" 15 minutes. When you hear the lights come back on, it'll be gone. But Marcus, you need to quit. Tonight. Don't come back." The 15 minutes felt like hours. Marcus stood in the darkness, barely breathing, listening for any sound of movement outside the storage room. At one point, he heard something, footsteps, slow and deliberate, moving through the station. Searching. Then, exactly 15 minutes later, the lights flickered back on. The refrigerators hummed to life. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. Marcus came out of the storage room to find the station exactly as he'd left it. The security monitor showed the white sedan driving away from Pump 6, heading east on I-40. He called Dale and quit over the phone. Dale didn't argue, just said, "Smart kid. Good luck." Marcus never went back to that gas station. But sometimes, late at night when he's driving, he'll see a white sedan with Texas plates on the highway, and he'll speed up, putting as much distance between himself and that car as possible. Remember Marcus. He'll be important later. Lisa Chun had been working as a night auditor at the Grandview Hotel for 3 months when she first noticed room 237 was wrong. The Grandview was one of those old downtown hotels that had seen better days, built in the 1920s, with Art Deco fixtures and a lobby that probably looked grand once, but now just looked tired. Lisa worked the audit shift from 11 p.m. to 7 a.m., which meant she was alone in the hotel for most of the night, except for whatever guests were staying. The job was simple. Check in any late arrivals, handle any guest requests, run the night audit reports, and make sure nothing caught fire. It paid $18 an hour, which was better than her last job, and it was quiet. Lisa liked quiet. Room 237 was on the 2nd floor, at the end of the east hallway. According to the hotel system, it had been occupied for the past 4 years. Not by different guests, by the same guest, a Mr. James Crawford, who paid his weekly rate every Monday by leaving cash in an envelope at the front desk. Does he ever come down? Lisa had asked her supervisor, a woman named Paula, during her first week. Mr. Crawford values his privacy, Paula had said, not looking up from her paperwork. We respect that. If he needs anything, he calls the front desk. Otherwise, we leave him alone. For 4 years. For 4 years. Doesn't housekeeping need to? He declined housekeeping services. It's in his agreement with the hotel. That should have been Lisa's first warning sign. But she needed the job, so she didn't push. For the first 2 months, everything was normal. Room 237 never called down. Never made a sound. The envelope with cash appeared every Monday morning like clockwork. It was like the room was empty. But on Lisa's 73rd night, something changed. It was 3:17 a.m. when the phone rang. Lisa picked it up. "Front desk, this is Lisa." Silence. Then a voice. Male but wrong. Like someone speaking through water. "Room service." "I'm sorry, sir, but room service closed at midnight." "I can." "Room service." The line went dead. Lisa stared at the phone. The call had come from room 237. She waited, expecting the phone to ring again. It didn't. After 20 minutes, she convinced herself it was nothing. A prank call. A confused guest. But the next night, at exactly 3:17 a.m., the phone rang again. Same voice. Same two words. "Room service." "Sir, I'm sorry, but we don't have room service available at this hour." Click. This happened every night for a week. Same time. Same voice. Same request. Lisa mentioned it to Paula, who just frowned. "Just ignore it. Mr. Crawford is eccentric." "Should I go up there? Check on him?" "No." Paula's voice was sharp. "Never go to room 237. That's a rule. You don't go to that room." "But what if he needs?" "Lisa, do not go to that room." Lisa followed the rule. For another week, she ignored the 3:17 a.m. calls. But on her 91st night, something different happened. At 3:17 a.m., the phone rang. But this time, when Lisa answered, there was no voice. Just a sound. Wet. Rhythmic. Like something chewing. And then, the sound of footsteps in the hallway above her. Second floor. East hallway. Moving slowly toward the stairs. Lisa stood up from the front desk, her heart pounding. The footsteps continued. Slow. Deliberate. Coming down the stairs. She could see the staircase from the front desk. But nothing appeared. The footsteps continued. She could hear them clearly now. Coming down the stairs, across the lobby floor. But there was nothing there. The footsteps stopped directly in front of the desk. Lisa couldn't breathe. She stared at the empty space in front of her, where something should be standing but wasn't. The phone rang. Lisa jumped. She stared at the phone. It rang again. She picked it up with a shaking hand. "Front desk, why won't you bring me room service?" The voice was clearer now. Angry. "I've been asking for days. Why won't you feed me?" "Sir, I'm so hungry, Lisa. So hungry. And you're right there. Why won't you come up?" "How did it know her name?" "I can't." "Come to room 237, Lisa. I just want to talk. I just want to see you. I just want to." Lisa slammed the phone down. She grabbed her purse and ran for the front door. But when she pulled on the handle, it didn't budge. Locked. She fumbled for her keys, but her hands were shaking too badly. Behind her, she heard the footsteps again, moving toward her. Lisa spun around. The lobby was empty, but the footsteps were getting louder, closer. She closed her eyes and took a deep breath. Then she did the only thing she could think of. She walked back to the front desk, picked up the phone, and dialed room 237. It rang once, twice. Then, "Yes, Mr. Crawford," Lisa said, keeping her voice steady. "I apologize for the confusion. Room service is not available at this hour, but I can have a selection of items from our convenience pantry delivered to your room in the morning. Would that be acceptable?" Silence. Long enough that Lisa thought the line had gone dead. Then morning. "Yes, sir. 7 a.m. when my shift ends. I'll bring it up personally." Another pause. Then, almost disappointed, "I'll wait." The line went dead. The footsteps stopped. The front door unlocked with a click that Lisa heard clearly across the lobby. She didn't run. She walked calmly to her chair, sat down, and spent the rest of the night staring at the stairs, waiting for 7 a.m. When Paula arrived for the morning shift, Lisa told her everything. Paula listened without interrupting. "You're quitting," Paula said. It wasn't a question. "Yes." Smart. Paula pulled out an envelope from her desk. "This is for you. Severance pay. 2 months. That's generous." It's guilt money, Paula said quietly. You're the 14th night auditor we've had in 3 years. They all quit. They all see whatever is in room 237, or hear it, or feel it. She looked at Lisa. You're actually lucky. The last girl tried to go up to the room. We found her in the stairwell the next morning. She was alive, but she wouldn't stop screaming. She's in a psychiatric facility now. Lisa took the envelope. What's in that room? I don't know. The hotel owner won't tell me. But every Monday morning, that cash envelope appears. And every night, something pretends to be human in room 237. And if you're smart, you'll forget you ever worked here. Lisa left the Grandview Hotel and never looked back. She got a job at a bank, working normal hours, seeing the sun every day. But sometimes, at 3:17 a.m., her phone rings. And when she answers, all she hears is that wet, rhythmic chewing sound, and a voice that says, I'm still hungry, Lisa. Why didn't you bring me room service? Keep watching. Lisa's story isn't over yet. David Park was 31 years old when he took the warehouse job. He'd been unemployed for 6 months after his last company downsized, and his savings were almost gone. The job was overnight inventory management at a massive distribution center outside of Denver. The pay was decent, $19 an hour, and they were hiring immediately. The warehouse was enormous. 300,000 square feet of concrete floors, metal shelving reaching 40 feet high, and endless rows of products waiting to be shipped. David's job was simple. Walk the floor from midnight to 8 a.m., scan inventory, note any discrepancies, and make sure nothing was damaged or misplaced. He worked alone. The day shift had maybe 50 people, but overnight it was just David and the silence. On his first night, his supervisor Raymond gave him a quick tour. Stay on the main floor, Raymond said, gesturing at the warehouse. Don't go into the cold storage sections unless absolutely necessary. Don't use the freight elevator after midnight. And whatever you do, don't go into Zone H. What's in Zone H? Raymond's jaw tightened. Nothing. That's the point. Zone H is supposed to be empty. It's been empty for 2 years. But sometimes, he trailed off. Just don't go there. If your scanner tells you there's a discrepancy in Zone H, ignore it. Mark it as an error and move on. Why? Because the last guy who went into Zone H didn't come back. What do you mean didn't come back? I mean we found him 3 days later, sitting in the corner of Zone H, staring at nothing. He wouldn't talk, wouldn't move. Had to call an ambulance. He's still in a hospital somewhere, far as I know. Catatonic. David should have walked out right then, but he thought about his empty bank account, about the unemployment checks that had run out, about the bills piling up. So he stayed. The first week was boring. David walked the endless rows, scanning barcodes, checking boxes. The warehouse was cold and sterile, lit by harsh fluorescent lights that made everything look washed out. His footsteps echoed. The only other sound was the hum of the ventilation system. On his 9th night, around 2:30 a.m., David's scanner beeped with a discrepancy alert. Zone H. He looked up from the device. Zone H was at the far end of the warehouse, past the loading docks, isolated from the main floor by a chain-link fence with a gate that was supposed to be locked. David walked over slowly. The gate was open. He stood there, staring into Zone H. It was dark. The lights in that section were off. His scanner beeped again, insistent. The discrepancy was showing up as a high-priority alert now. David thought about what Raymond had said, about the guy who went in and never came out right. He turned around and walked away. He marked the alert as an error and continued his rounds. But the next night, the same thing happened. Discrepancy in Zone H, gate open, lights off. And the night after that, on the 12th night, David's curiosity got the better of him. He stood at the gate to Zone H, his flashlight in hand, and made a decision. Just a quick look, just to see what was triggering the alerts. He stepped through the gate. Zone H looked like every other part of the warehouse. Rows of metal shelving, concrete floor, high ceiling, except it was completely empty. No boxes, no products, nothing. Just empty shelves stretching back into the darkness. David walked down the main aisle, his flashlight beam cutting through the shadows. His scanner was going crazy now, showing discrepancies everywhere. But there was nothing here. Nothing at all. He was about to turn back when he heard it. Footsteps. Not his own. Someone else's. Coming from deeper in Zone H. "Hello," David called out. His voice echoed. "Is someone there?" The footsteps stopped. Then, from the darkness, a voice. Finally. David spun his flashlight toward the sound. At first, he saw nothing. Then, slowly, a figure emerged from between the shelves. It looked like a man. Tall, wearing what might have been a warehouse uniform. But something was wrong. The man's movements were off, jerky, like a puppet being controlled by someone who'd never seen a human walk before. "Who are you?" David asked. The figure tilted its head. "I'm the inventory." "What?" "I'm the inventory." The figure took a step closer. "This warehouse has been tracking me for 2 years, scanning me, counting me. But I'm not supposed to be counted. I'm not supposed to exist." David backed up. "I'm just going to." "You can't leave." The figure moved faster now, closing the distance between them. "None of you can leave once you see me. Once you scan me. Once you add me to the system." David ran. He sprinted back toward the gate, his footsteps pounding on the concrete. Behind him, he could hear the figure following, running with that same wrong, jerky movement. David made it to the gate, slammed it shut, and fumbled with the lock. His hands were shaking so badly, he almost dropped the padlock. Finally, he snapped it closed. He turned around, expecting to see the figure pressed against the fence. But Zone H was empty, silent. David radioed Raymond immediately. Raymond arrived within 20 minutes, and David told him everything. "God damn it," Raymond muttered. "I told you not to go in there." "What is that thing?" "I don't know. Nobody knows. It's been showing up in the system for 2 years. Every night, the scanner registers inventory in Zone H. But when the day shift checks, there's nothing there. We've had consultants look at it. IT specialists. Everyone says it's a glitch, but it's not a glitch." Raymond looked at David. "Did it touch you?" "No." "Good. Because the last guy, the one who went catatonic, we found scanner marks on his arm, like he'd been tagged. Barcode." David felt sick. "I'm quitting." "You can't." "What do you mean I can't?" "I mean legally you can, of course. But that thing in Zone H? It knows you now. You scanned it. You saw it. It's going to keep showing up in your life until..." Raymond trailed off. "Until what?" "Until it adds you to its inventory." David quit that night. But Raymond was right. Over the next 3 months, David started seeing it everywhere. In parking garages, in the background of security footage at his new job, standing in the corner of his apartment when he woke up at 3 a.m. It never got closer, never touched him, just watched, waited. David stopped sleeping, started missing work. His friends and family noticed he was deteriorating, but he couldn't explain what was happening without sounding insane. And then, 2 weeks ago, David got a text from an unknown number. "Support group for night shift workers. We can help. Come to this address tomorrow at 8 p.m. Now here's where everything comes together. David showed up to the address, a small office building in downtown Denver, not knowing what to expect. The room was on the 3rd floor, unmarked, with folding chairs arranged in a circle. When he walked in, there were already 2 people there. Marcus Hayes, the gas station attendant from New Mexico, and Lisa Chun, the night auditor from the Grandview Hotel. They all stared at each other for a long moment. Then Lisa spoke first. "Let me guess. Something from your night shift job is following you." David nodded slowly. Marcus did the same. "How did you know?" David asked. "Because it's following all of us," Lisa said. She pulled out her phone and showed them a photo. It was grainy, taken from what looked like hotel security footage. In the background, barely visible, was a figure. Tall, pale, watching. Marcus pulled out his own phone. "I took this 2 days ago." His photo showed a white sedan parked across from his apartment building. In the driver's seat, visible through the windshield, was a faceless figure. David felt his blood run cold. He pulled up the most recent photo on his phone, taken yesterday in a Target parking lot. In the background, between two parked cars, was the jerky, wrong-moving figure from Zone H. "They're different," Marcus said, looking at all three photos. "Whatever's following me isn't the same as what's following you too." "But they're connected," Lisa said. She gestured to the empty chairs. "This support group, whoever organized it, knows about all of this. They know we're being hunted." "But who organized it?" David asked. As if in answer, the door opened. A woman walked in. She was maybe 40, with dark hair pulled back in a ponytail. David recognized her immediately from Marcus's story. The woman who'd given him the business card at the gas station. "My name is Dr. Sarah Vance," she said, closing the door behind her. "And before you ask, no, I'm not a therapist. I'm a researcher. For the past 15 years, I've been documenting cases like yours. Night shift workers who encounter something they can't explain. Something that follows them, hunts them." "What are they?" Lisa asked. "We don't have a name for them, but we know what they do. They attach themselves to people who work in liminal spaces, places that exist between day and night, between movement and stillness. Gas stations on empty highways, hotels where someone can stay for years without being seen, warehouses where inventory vanishes and reappears." "Why?" Marcus asked. "Because those are the spaces where our world is thinnest, where something else can push through. And when you work in those spaces, especially during the hours when most people are asleep, you become visible to them. You become available." "Available for what?" David's voice was barely a whisper. Dr. Vance looked at each of them in turn. "To be collected, categorized, added to whatever system they're using. You're all being tracked now, scanned, logged, and once they've gathered enough information about you, they'll come to claim you." "Claim us for what?" Lisa asked. "We don't know. The people we've talked to who've been claimed, the ones who came back, they can't or won't tell us. They just sit there, staring at nothing, like their minds have been wiped clean." The room fell silent. David felt like he couldn't breathe. "So we're just supposed to wait?" Marcus said. "Wait for these things to decide they're done tracking us, and then what? Take us?" "No," Dr. Vance said. "There's another option. But you're not going to like it." She pulled out 3 file folders and set them on the table. Each was labeled with one of their names. "These are your cases. Everything we know about what's following you. And in each case, there's one common thread. You all left your jobs abruptly. You all ran. And that's what made you interesting to them. That's what made them follow." "So what's the option?" Lisa asked. Dr. Vance took a deep breath. "You go back. You finish what you started. You complete your contracts." "Are you insane?" David stood up. "You want us to go back to those places?" "I want you to stop running. Because as long as you're running, you're prey. But if you go back, if you face them on their own ground, if you show them you're not afraid." She paused. "Some of the people we've worked with, the ones who went back and confronted what was hunting them, they reported that the entities left them alone after that, as if completing the job, fulfilling the contract, satisfied whatever need these things have." "And the ones who didn't make it?" Marcus asked quietly. Dr. Vance didn't answer. "There's no guarantee," she finally said. "But I can tell you that everyone who kept running, they all disappeared eventually. Every single one. But some of the people who went back, they're still here. Still alive. Still themselves." David, Marcus, and Lisa looked at each other. They were strangers brought together by impossible circumstances. But in that moment, they understood each other perfectly. They were all out of options. "I'll go back," Marcus said. "But I'm not going alone." "Neither am I," Lisa said. They both looked at David. He thought about the figure in Zone H, about the way it moved, jerky and wrong, like something trying to remember how to be human, about how it had said he couldn't leave once he'd scanned it. "When do we start?" David asked. 3 weeks later, Marcus returned to the gas station on I-40. Lisa went back to the Grandview Hotel. David walked back into the warehouse and through the gate into Zone H. I don't know what happened to them after that. Dr. Vance won't tell me. But I do know this. All three of them are still alive. I've seen the proof. Marcus sent me a text last week. Lisa emailed me yesterday. David called 2 days ago. They all said the same thing. I finished my shift. It's over. I'm free. But they also all said something else. Something that keeps me up at night. But it's still out there. Still waiting at Pump 6. Still hungry in Room 237. Still counting in Zone H. And it's always looking for someone new to add to its collection. So if you ever take a night shift job at a gas station, or a hotel, or a warehouse, and you notice something strange, something that watches you, follows you, waits for you, remember these 3 stories. Remember that some jobs don't end when you quit. Some jobs never end at all. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed these stories, hit that subscribe button for more Night Shift Chronicles from Dark Signal. And if you've ever had a strange experience working a night shift job, leave it in the comments below. Stay safe out there. And whatever you do, don't work the overnight shift alone. You never know what's watching.